shrinking. That's the nothing personal word of the day. It's Thursday, November 20th, 2025. Today's episode is brought to you by DraftKings. DraftKings, the crown is yours. We are not here to talk about the fantastic Jason Segel, Harrison Ford-led show called Shrinking. We are here to talk about the platform called ESPN that is shrinking. Now, I'm not going to be cute. I'm not really in the mood to be too cute. So I'll just remind you, Major League Baseball and ESPN had a broadcast deal agreement for $550 million per year. That deal ended when both Major League Baseball and ESPN decided that they would opt out of that contract. After the breakup, Commissioner Rob Manfred said ESPN is a shrinking platform. And MLB was hopeful to replace ESPN with all of the other potential bidders, all of the other potential platforms to take what ESPN had. There was panic in the industry. Will this be the end of ESPN? Is it all over? Will ESPN move on from baseball after decades and decades? What will happen to Jeff Passan? All of these questions were asked. But meanwhile, deep in the corners of MLB's offices, there was one man in charge of figuring this out, and his name is Noah. And Noah had a plan, as many Noahs do. And his plan was to make sure that ESPN understood that what they were giving up by opting out of $550 million and opting out of Sunday Night Baseball and opting out of playoff baseball, that they were not going to have an opportunity to get back in that game at those numbers. That's the first thing that Noah wanted to make sure of. The second thing Noah and Commissioner Rob Manfred and all 30 owners wanted to make sure of as they were meeting in New York this week. Not a coincidence that MLB announced new media deals this week during owners' meetings. It is a straight victory lap for MLB because MLB accomplished the number one thing they wanted to accomplish. There's two amazing things they did, but the number one, the amount of money that owners are receiving on an annual basis is more than the $550 million ESPN was giving them. Number two, all of the media deals that Major League Baseball has. You're not reading about their deals with Fox and Warner Brothers because right now they're in the middle of them. You're only reading about the new deals with NBC, with Netflix, and with ESPN. You're reading about those right now. All of those deals all end in 2028. The theory from the beginning for Major League Baseball, what they have been working toward with all of the local teams, with all the local networks, regional sports networks falling apart, all of the stuff we covered with the bankruptcy of Sinclair and Diamond and Bally's and all of that mishigas, and how now MLB produces games for some teams. Some teams are using a combination of their own apps plus over the air, all of that stuff. Plus all of the national stuff. That's the playoff games. That is the Sunday night game. That is the Sunday morning game. That is the special Field of Dreams game, the special Fort Bragg game. You do a special this game, a special that game. You go to Europe or Asia to start the season, special games. All of those deals, all of them, will end at the same time, which means that Rob and Noah have a chance over the next 3 years to formulate a gargantuan all-in deal like what you see in the NFL and now in the NBA. I remind you that NBA's new deal that they just started, NBA's new deal where they got $77 billion for 11 years. NBA's new deal where you don't know what channel to go to, but you know sure as heck fire, there's a night, that means there's a game somewhere, and you'll get used to it. Do I go to Peacock? Do I go to ESPN? Do I go here? Do I go there? I just know I go somewhere, and I'll get NBA. 77 billion over 11 years. The National Football League. They don't even worry about a local component because they are the ultimate unattainable dream because the NBA and MLB can never get to where the NFL is. The NFL doesn't have local games. Every single game on their schedule, whether they go to 18 games, where they are now at 17 games, when they used to be at 16 games, every team's every game is a quote-unquote national game. So the NFL puts its entire inventory together. Every single regular season game, every single playoff game, Super Bowls. They cut deals that are simply out of this world. They cut deals that, let's say, give them just conservatively $12 billion per year. The NBA got 77 million, call it $6 to $7 billion per year. The reason why it's lower is there are more games, but those more games, some of them are local, not available nationally, and all of them in their entirety do not equal the strength of a NFL game. Remember when we look at numbers that a regular season NFL game will give you more than a Game 7 of the World Series? Unless, of course, you count Japan and Canada, in which case it's still darn close. Every single regular season game between two tanking teams will give you more than Game 7 of the NBA Finals. It's like a slotting system. The NFL slots in on top, then comes the NBA, then comes Major League Baseball. When you are in third place, you are not looking to pass the NFL. In first place, you're looking to catch second place and firmly entrench yourself in second place. MLB has had this goal for years. What was announced yesterday was simply a stepping stone to get into the position to negotiate with everyone with every bit of inventory available after 2028. But in the meantime, they got to send out a press release, baseball did, that had the one thing in it it needed to have. ESPN is back with MLB, and ESPN is paying the same $550 million that they said they didn't want to pay anymore. That is MLB's press release. All of that rancor, all of that talk of ESPN saying, hey, we can do without baseball, you know, David Levy, Warner Brothers style. ESPN, David Zaslav, I should say. ESPN, sorry, David. ESPN saying, we'd rather not have baseball than pay $550. Well, surprise, surprise, they're paying $550. Now, the smart people in the group will be able to say, David, yes, they're paying $550, but look at how much more they were given. That's a very good economic trick. It's a very good PR trick. If I owe you $100 and in return I'm supposed to get a bottle of wine and that's it, and I say to you, hey, I'm not giving you $100 for that bottle of wine, and you say to me, I want the $100. I'll do anything. Give me the $100. And you say, all right, give me that bottle of wine. And then I'd like another bottle of wine. So give me 2 bottles of wine. The second one can be vinegar, but just give me something. Then I'll give you the $100. Then you get to say, hey, I got $100. I'm where I thought I was. And the person drinking says, I got an extra bottle. It ain't as great, but I got it. That's the deal ESPN and MLB just announced yesterday. ESPN simply got more wine. The question is, did they get vinegar or did they get a gorgeous full cab? That's where you're going to see behind the scenes, leaking, sniping, quotes. So we'll give you the facts. You're going to hear a lot about MLB.TV today during the course of the day. MLB.TV is something some of you may buy where you can see all out-of-market games as they're being played. You pay a couple $100. It's sort of like Sunday Ticket, except all the games are on Sunday in the NFL. But it's a ticket where you get games every night of the week except your local games. Those are the blackouts. Local games are blacked out on MLB TV. MLB TV is an interesting property. It has hundreds of local games. If a national game like ESPN's old Sunday night game, which doesn't exist anymore, we'll get to NBC in a minute, but that game wouldn't be on MLB.TV. You'd have to have ESPN. So MLB TV is really about the local inventory. Major League Baseball is trying to limit local inventory going forward in order to package more and more national items, more and more national games in order to get closer to what the NFL and NBA look like. So for MLB to give up MLB.TV to ESPN, it's a declining asset. ESPN gets to claim, yeah, we are getting the revenue from MLB.TV, but that revenue is going down, down, down. And as far as MLB is concerned, they want to get it down to zero. They want to eliminate blackouts in the next set of deals. They want to increase the number of national games. But ESPN got it. My argument, vinegar. Something vinegar. Next. They are ESPN. And they told us, if you're listening, these corporations will give you their exact plan of action because they're floating it out there. They're letting their board know. They're letting their CEO know. Jimmy Pitaro, the head of ESPN, after the $550 million broadcast deal was opted out and disappeared, Jimmy Pitaro stood up and said, hey, sticks and stones can break my bones, but names will never hurt me. I'm not mad at Rob for calling us a shrinking platform. I'll tell you one thing. We'd love to be part of the solution to help local teams. We would love to disseminate local games over our platform. Wouldn't you know it, ESPN then announces this thing, the ESPN app. They announce that they are going direct to consumer. It's not a coincidence. These guys at ESPN and Disney, they've got a plan. It's not just David who carries around a 5-year plan. Everybody in business carries around a 5-year plan. You just don't tell anyone about it. ESPN's plan was to get local teams to do business with ESPN. Well, coincidentally, Major League Baseball had been broadcasting games for several of the teams, like the Cleveland Guardians, the Padres, the Twins, the Diamondbacks, the Rockies, the Mariners. These are teams that lost their regional sports networks. They could not find any local TV money. They went to MLB and MLB said, I've got you, child. We will produce the games. We will use the exact announcers you used to use. Your audience is going to feel comforted. We are going to get it over the air. We may even get it on some of the similar cable channels, believe it or not. But we're going to take the local in-house. As part of this new deal with ESPN, all of those teams, ESPN now has the right to all of those in-market clubs. ESPN has gotten into the local regional sports network business without owning a regional sports network, without dealing with the startup costs or with the actual undergoing costs of running a network, because they're going to put these games on their existing platforms. 6 teams. It's not 30. It's not 28. It is 6 teams. But their deal is only 3 years. ESPN will also get 30 games. 30 games. Not Sunday Night Baseball. 30 games, national games, maybe on a Thursday. Totally different than when Sunday Night Baseball was. So you add up all of these things. ESPN, in theory, can argue to Bob Iger, hey, yes, we're paying the same $5.50, but look what more we got. Bob Iger would say, are you losing playoffs? Are you losing the Sunday night national game? And Jimmy Pitaro has to say, yes, we're not getting those. Baseball sold those elsewhere, like to NBC and Netflix. But I promise you, Bob, for the same $550 million, we are in great shape. To which Rob would respond when asked at a cocktail party, is ESPN better giving you $550 for what they used to get or $550 for what they're now getting? Baseball will tell you, and correctly so, the $550 they're getting from ESPN still is worth less than the $550 worth of items that MLB had to give to get the $550 before this deal ended. That is a win for Major League Baseball. Optically, practically. Then Major League Baseball gets to tell you about NBC, a brand new partner where they will get playoff games, the playoff games that ESPN lost, where they will get Sunday Night Baseball, the Sunday Night Baseball you used to see on ESPN. They will also take over a Sunday morning package that used to be valued at $10 million by Roku. It's those 11 o'clock games. NBC and Peacock will take them over. NBC, Comcast, will give baseball $200 million a year for these 3 years just for Sunday Night Baseball and that round of playoffs in the wild card. Throw in the Roku, etc. Think about that. NBC is getting its feet back in MLB broadcast waters in a very meaningful way, getting postseason action where the wild card round is exciting as can be. Plus, they have made Sunday nights theirs between football, where they have the Sunday night game, the NBA deal, where they have the Sunday night games, and now baseball, they have the Sunday night games. The only negative about the NBC deal for Major League Baseball is they are third in line. The truth is, that's how it goes when there are two existing deals. You'll always be third in line. What I mean is, if there's a basketball, a football, and a baseball game going on at the same time, baseball, that Sunday night game, will move to Peacock. It won't be on big NBC. In the old days, that would have been a deal breaker. The way people are consuming media and sports these days, it will not be as big a loss for these leagues to be, quote unquote, relegated to the streamer. That used to be something we would never take. When John Skipper would say, yeah, your game's going to be on ESPN2, we would brawl with him. Those days of that brawl are over because of how consumers consume live events. MLB was also able to do a deal with Netflix. Why is this important? Go back to the NFL deal. What are you going to be doing December 25th? Well, you may not know this. You're going to be watching Christmas sports. Now, the NBA has a bunch of Christmas games. That's true, but NBA doesn't rule Christmas. The NFL did a deal where they have 2 Christmas games on Netflix. NFL got $75 million a year per game for those regular season Christmas games, or $150 million per year. Well, baseball just did a deal with Netflix, announced yesterday. They're getting $50 million per year, not 150, 50. Netflix got a Christmas game times 2 from the NFL. Valuable standalone NFL games on Christmas Day. What did Netflix buy from MLB for a third the price? Well, pretty simple. They got opening day in prime time. like the game that'll be between the Yankees and the Giants on March 25th, 1 game. They got the Home Run Derby, 2 games. They got the Field of Dreams game. That's a regular season game played in the cornfields of Iowa. 3 games, 50 million. NFL, 2 games, Christmas, 150. If I am Major League Baseball and Rob and Noah, I'm looking at this Netflix deal, and I'm looking at the value they're paying me for a regular season game and for a non-game, the Home Run Derby, which often can be more exciting than the All-Star game. And I'm doing the math of $75 million for an NFL game, knowing what the NFL brings in. And I'm thinking to myself, wait a minute, if I can come up with about 5 or 6 more regular season games, and I'm going to have all of this inventory, if I can come up with more events, the way MLB has been practicing to do this since I first took the Marlins to Fort Bragg in the first game of this kind, and now there's games in Williamsport, there's games, they take them everywhere. Special event games differentiate normal regular season games, and therefore you get a premium. What Major League Baseball is going to be doing over the next 3 years is building the inventory of special. How do we increase our availability of those items that look, smell, feel, touch, and taste like an MLB regular season game, but in fact, they're worth more because they can be marketed as something different? When the Cubs play the Cardinals in Iowa, believe me, it's a regular season game, but it looks cool. They can do all sorts of, they can activate around it. That's the jargon that's used. They can create value by having sponsors come in and play a game on the Field of Dreams. They can create a different look for the broadcaster so they're live from Iowa. All of these things are done on purpose. Major League Baseball sat down very simply and said, what is the best way to get toward the NBA and toward the NFL come 2028? And the step they made yesterday, it's going to be reviewed, both sides. You're going to read that they didn't do well. You're going to read they did do well. What I'm telling you, this is all about positioning. This is like the formation lap in F1. This is running around the track, getting yourself ready to go, because the real race, that's not till 2028. This here is just some interim stuff, and MLB did phenomenally well. Way back in February, you know how I am with this, Coca, so I'm going to do it. Go to davidsamsonpodcast.com. Go right now. Go to the tracking document. Every single wait to see, I print. It's there for you to see. It's an open, live document. Go back 9 months. February 24th of 2025, when ESPN and MLB broke up and the commissioner said it's a shrinking platform. I said MLB and ESPN are done for good. Goodbye. Guess what? I didn't get that one right. They're not done for good. They're still going. ESPN is still giving them $550 million. So that wait to see went right into the crapper. But I told you I'll revisit even when they're bad. There is a story that came out about the WNBA, and I love talking WNBA, so here we go. Well, let me do a little music. I'm going to sit up straight here. If you're watching on Nothing Personal with David Samson YouTube channel, hit subscribe. Thank you for your support. I'm going to sit up straight. I'm going to straighten my collar. This is an update on the WNBA CBA negotiations. There was a 30-day extension granted before the expiration of the last deal, and there are 10 days remaining in that 30-day period. By November 30th of 2025, there has to be a new deal, or else there will be some sort of work stoppage, whether it's a lockout or a strike, or they could do another 30-day extension. As you are approaching November 30th, you will be seeing different leaks of different terms that are being proposed by different sides, just like what we saw yesterday. Yesterday, the WNBA made sure, because there's so many articles coming out about Unrivaled and what those players get paid, Project B and what those players get paid to play overseas. Meanwhile, Coca Project B basically tripped over itself trying to make sure we knew that they had no Saudi Arabian money. Our women are going to be totally safe. Don't be ridiculous. WNBA leaked out, hey, they made a proposal and it's good. It's got revenue sharing in it. Side note, every single proposal they've ever done had revenue sharing in it. It's a question of what percentage. NBA has 50% they share with the players. What percentage are they willing to share with the players in the WNBA? We haven't quite gotten there. Is it 9%, 11%? Don't know. Certainly not going to be 50. But we don't know. That wasn't part of the league. It would include revenue sharing. Now, here comes the goodies. WNBA proposes, wait for it, a maximum salary of more than $1.1 million. And that can be available to more than one player on a team. Ooh, that's a good one. That means that you got a chance. If you got a superstar on your team and you're the second best, you can still make $1 million. That's interesting because the other league is promising way more, but I don't want to get distracted. Hold on. What else? The new league minimum would go up to $220,000 at minimum. Well, that's good because there were people making like 70 grand. So I think the players of the WNBA are going to be super pumped up. Wow, the new league minimum will be exactly what they're paying at Unrivaled to work for a couple weeks in Miami. But all right, that's a good proposal. What else do we got? That we are going to take these numbers and increase them. The average salary is going to go up to like $460,000. We are moving, aren't we? The WNBA Players Association has to look at this and they have to laugh. And the reason why I think they have to laugh is that it is an increase. And the NBA making this offer, Adam Silver is doing all this. Make no mistake. Don't be fooled thinking that this is being done by Kathy with the WNBA, that commissioner. No, the NBA is doing this, pulling the strings from behind the scenes. Adam is not sitting at the meetings. I promise you that. But nothing is being offered without the NBA saying, we agree to that, we agree to that, we don't agree to that. The problem with this update, with this leak, with 10 days to go, is that every time the WNBA makes a proposal to its players, another story comes out about another league. An existential crisis is unfolding inside the halls of the WNBA. The WNBA is at risk in a way they've never been at risk before as a league, and the players know it. Think about it for a second. If you get a call from Project B, hey, you want to come here? Because we'll pay you $2 million. We'll give you some equity in this league. What do you think of that? You could even reach 10 figures. For those of you sleeping at home or scoring by yourself, that's over $10 million. Meanwhile, Unrivaled, and you know my caveat here, John Skipper is involved with Unrivaled, but I get no information from John Skipper. The guy won't even talk to me, period. Too upset about the sporting class. Too upset about calling him out on what an absolute capitalist he is when it comes to quashing his competition. But the league that he's a part of, Unrivaled, they're offering their players right now, and they're increasing their money, but their offers are already for that shortened league more money than what the minimums would be as part of this WNBA new proposal. Why is the WNBA doing this? What would be the purpose? Because when you're 10 days out from a deadline, you are not giving your best offer. Wouldn't it be nice in negotiation if everyone gave their best offer right to start with and you could see what the bid and the ask was and you could see whether or not there was any movement at all? But definitionally, if there's movement, it means it wasn't your best offer. The WNBA did not give its best or final offer here on November 20th. There is a really good chance they will not give their last and final offer by November 30th. There is no particular rush because the players are making them feel rushed because players are signing up to go to Project B. Unrivaled rosters are already set, but if any of the stars, Caitlin Clark, if she woke up tomorrow morning and said, I want to play in Unrivaled, believe me, she'd play in Unrivaled. So it's a pretty complicated situation when you're negotiating a CBA when you have no competition, football, basketball, baseball. It's even more complicated when you do have legitimate competition. And the WNBA has legitimate competition. The question is, does the legitimate competition make the WNBA give more than what they're comfortable giving, than what is responsible for them to give? And that's where the NBA comes into play. The NBA is a business. It's a business run by super smart people. It's a business that doesn't enjoy throwing good money after bad as much as they were willing to do with the WNBA for all of these decades. At some point, they say, no, no more. If you want to fold the WNBA, even though we're getting good expansion fees, even though we're getting expansion, even though we're getting crowds, even though we're getting TV deals, but if you think that you are going to put us in a position where we are guaranteed to lose money year after year, you must be crazy. Next 10 days are going to be interesting. I want to remind everyone that yesterday was a very fun So You Want to Talk to Samson. I want to show the graphic here. For those of you watching or listening, I'm going to give you a phone number. It's 631-377-4869. Please call that number. Leave a voicemail. Your voice may appear on the show, or we may use parts of your question to answer other questions throughout the week. It's a real number. It's not a joke. It's a real number. So call it. 631-377-4869. All right, Coca, let's get to the review, please. We finally made it to Thursday. We're down to only 5 more Thursdays where we can review movies from my top 100 list. That means I'm about 5 weeks away from having to redo my top 100 list because that was the promise. I would watch all 100 movies over again. I would review all of my top 100, also found on davidsamsonpodcast.com. Today, it's number 58. It's called Midnight Run. People talk about Robert De Niro as an octogenarian father. They talk about Robert De Niro as a Casino and Goodfellas, as a mob guy. Robert De Niro is a funny, smart, amazing actor who did a buddy movie with Charles Grodin, another person who, if you haven't heard of, he's passed now, but you have missed an opportunity. Well, you haven't. You can still watch the movie where you can just see greatness. I would argue Nick Nolte and Eddie Murphy in 48 Hours, Charles Grodin and Robert De Niro in Midnight Run are 2 of the top 5 buddies in buddy movies ever. And I'm talking about Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid. I'm talking about A Star is Born. I will go with any couple on screen, whether it's an action buddy movie or just a couple. Clint Eastwood and Meryl Streep. The reason why I love these 2 is they play off each other in a way that just makes you, it just makes you happy. The whole movie. I told you that I wouldn't get to this week because I watch it so many times. And I have to tell you, I got to it last night, LATE. But I just wanted to feel something. I wanted to feel a laugh. I wanted to see whether it still was aging, given the fact that I've watched it so many times. And guess what? It might as well be a 2025 movie. Does it look a little older? It does. Is the graphic package a little older? It is. But in terms of clarity, in terms of humor, in terms of story development, character development, laughing out loud moments, it's called Midnight Run. I can't wait for someone to watch it. Next Thursday is Thanksgiving. So, Coca, I don't know what we're going to do because there's no show next Thursday. So is this the next Thursday show, which will be in 2 weeks? We are going to watch number 79, Stranger Than Fiction. We'll do it Wednesday. Okay, we'll do it next Wednesday show. In addition to So You Want to Talk to Samson, we'll review Stranger Than Fiction. If you're looking for a movie to watch this weekend, I want to give you advance notice of my Monday movie. I am going to get to this weekend, because there's no show tomorrow, the new Ben Stiller documentary called Stiller and Mira. Those are his parents. Stiller and Mira, you may know Jerry Stiller from Seinfeld. If you don't know Ann Mira, you will after the show. Nothing is lost. Okay, nothing personal. Pick of the day. Nothing personal pick of the day, presented by DraftKings. DraftKings, the crown is yours. We are ready up to the start of week 12. Tonight, we have got a shootout between not CJ Stroud and the real Josh Kelly. We have got an opportunity. Say that again, please. Yes, thank you very much. So we should probably do that entire thing again. Who's Josh Kelly? Thank you. Here we go. 4, 8, 6, 9. Nothing personal pick of the day. Presented by DraftKings. DraftKings, the crown is yours. Week 12 starts tonight with Josh Allen going against the Texans. There is no CJ Stroud. You may be concerned. No Dalton Kincaid for the Bills. You don't know enough about Davis Mills? I'll tell you something about Davis Mills. There's going to be scoring. Do you like the Bills or the Texans? Here's what you like tonight. Score, score, score. We are taking the over 43.5 in tonight's game. Let's watch Josh Allen put up a 35 spot on the Texans. Wait to see. There is a second pick today. The nothing personal pick of the day, presented by DraftKings. DraftKings, the crown is yours. This Sunday, we have an interesting game. It's Aaron Rodgers going to Chicago, where he loves to play, except he may not play. Remember, he hurt his non-throwing wrist. He avoided surgery. He gave some quote yesterday saying, "Will I play?" Ask Coach Mr. Tomlin. Well, Aaron Rodgers, Mason Rudolph, does it matter? The truth is, for the Pittsburgh Steelers, the backup is better than the number one QB. If Rodgers plays, I like the Steelers. If Rudolph plays, I really like the Steelers. The Steelers are getting 2.5 points from the Bears. Aaron Rodgers, whether he takes the ball or not, the Steelers are going to act very much like the Packers. They're going to be part of a rivalry that they're really not part of, but man, they wanted to feel good beating a Bears team that is actually competing in a way that almost guarantees a playoff spot for them. Big, big game for the Steelers. I'm taking those 2.5 points, and that is the nothing personal pick of the day presented by DraftKings. So to review, tonight, Thursday, Bills Texans over 43.5. Sunday, Steelers plus 2.5. Those are the two picks. Did you watch last night's game? Were you panicked when the Heat were giving 6.5 to the Warriors? Were you thinking to yourself, wow, David, you've been sort of hot recently, but are they going to play the guys? Are they not going to play the guys when you don't play the guys because they're tired? Back-to-back, Orlando, Miami, no Curry. Does that mean someone else is going to step up? Are the Heat actually that good? They were good at home, then they're just sort of ordinary. Piece of cake. Heat minus 6.5 over the Warriors was a straight win. Warriors end up coming to Florida and taking the donut. Jimmy Butler, what a game he had. No points, no rebounds, no assists, no minutes. It's like LeBron coming back to Miami. So we are now 143 and 145. It's not over yet. We've got another month to climb over 500. This has been an up and down year. After 288 picks, we are 2 games under 500, and I promised you we'd get better. Wait for it. Mark Cuban, I love you, man. What you've done for Pablo, mwah. Anyone who does stuff for Pablo does stuff for me. Jordan Hudson, great. Thank you. Keep it alive. Keep it going. The more you draw attention to Pablo, the worse it is for you, but don't you worry. Keep going. For all of the people who think that Pablo is an award-winning podcast because of Bill Belichick's Ring camera, you don't know Pablo and you don't watch his show. If you think that Pablo is only because of Mark Cuban and Mark Cuban's ridiculous Twitter fighting, his egomaniacal, absolutely poorly framed, full of ignorance, if you think that that's made Pablo's show, you're not paying attention to Pablo's show. When I tell you the story of Mark Cuban, which I've told you, the reason why he's not an MLB owner is we would not vote for him to be an MLB owner. Hard stop. He wanted to buy a team so badly, and he did not have the 23 votes, and I was in the room where it was made sure that that happened. The tsuris for Mark Cuban, the juice is not nearly worth the squeeze. Mark Cuban sells the Dallas Mavericks and lies to you saying he is going to keep being the governor and running the basketball operations, and I told you, nope, doesn't work that way. And it didn't. Of course, Mark Cuban is not the governor. Patrick Dumont is. We talked about Patrick Dumont and the Mavericks. We talked about him being the son-in-law of the real owner, Miriam Adelson, who would not have been approved by the NBA, so they had to switch who the governor was going to be. It's like MLB saying, it can't be Derek Jeter. No chance. You got to make it Bruce Sherman. It's the same thing. It can't be Mark Cuban. It can't be anybody but Patrick Dumont. Fine. Patrick Dumont becomes the governor, the new owner of the Mavericks. We all know very well they're involved in lawsuits all over the place, including with the Dallas Stars. There are allegations left and right. Do you know the Mavericks do business in Nevada? Well, NSS, baby. The Adelson family is symbiotic with the flooding streets pre-F1 of Vegas. Tell me something I don't know. All of a sudden, we hear about a trade. Luka gets traded to the Lakers. The world falls apart. The worst trade in the history of any list. New lists come out. Everyone agrees. What are they doing there? Nico Harrison stinks. And I remind you that no GM, not one GM, does a trade like that without ownership approval. But let's blame Nico. Nico brought the trade to Patrick Dumont. Nico said, trade Luka. He can't play defense. He's fat. He's on the bong pipe. He's on the beer pipe. Trade him. But Patrick Dumont, Miriam Adelson, they had to approve it. Mark Cuban, nope. You're not involved, dude. You're not going to hear anything until we hear it. That's how it's going to go, because you sold the team. Oh, you got it wrong, David and Pablo. I own 27% of the team. Yeah, true. You're a limited partner with limited power. The reason why I bring up the Mark Cuban story is it's so funny that the Luka trade happens. Nico Harrison gets fired because the Mavericks stink. And now Mark Cuban is putting it out there that he is part of the committee running basketball operations. They fired Nico Harrison, and now they're doing, quote, GM by committee. I draw your attention to the Baltimore Orioles, who tried co-general managers. Nope. Doesn't work. I draw your attention to merged Wall Street companies, co-CEOs. Nope, doesn't work. There's got to be someone in charge. There's got to be someone to answer to the boss and someone to get blamed when things don't go well. You cannot put 2 people in the same position and pretend that there's a chance that it's going to work long term. There is 0 chance. What kind of committee is this? Well, there's a committee of the former assistant GMs, current assistant GMs of the Mavericks, who used to report to Nico. So they're part of this committee. You put Patrick Dumont in this committee. Then we bring back Mark Cuban to try to capture some Springsteen glory days. And now we got 4 men, including my guy, Wisconsin, Michael Finley, 4 guys running the basketball operations because Mark Cuban executed a behind-the-scenes coup to get Nico Harrison fired so he could then have the power? What power? The power to be a member of a committee that reports to Patrick Dumont that gives suggestions on the basketball side? Mark, you can take 3-pointers all you want. You can have a locker wherever you want. You can give whatever gifts you want to the players. Whatever it is you think you need to do to keep yourself relevant and happy, I'm in. Trust me. But for the people to be convinced, you're just lying to them. The whole organization is lying to the people. If you think that it's going to be good to have a GM by committee, here's another way to think about it. Do you all like closers by committee, your baseball team? You must love that. Going into the season, we're going to have closers by committee. When a baseball team says that, it's because they have no one good enough to be the closer. That's the only time that a team would go with a closer by committee. I love when managers do that. We have the flexibility. We have so many great back end of the bullpen arms that we can go to any of them. So we're going to make it a closer by committee. Meanwhile, in the clubhouse, you're talking to the players, get ready for the 8th, you get ready for the 7th, you're coming in the 9th. Players like knowing their roles. I got a problem. Who's doing the budget? Oh, that's that part of the GM by committee. Okay, who's doing the trades? Well, it's not going to be Cuban unless it's a really big trade, in which case make sure he's involved because he doesn't want to read about anything like he did the Luka trade where he had to say, hey, I'm ordinary. I'm just like everybody else. I found out on the Intergoogle. I love the fact that Cuban is able to come out and talk to The Athletic and just say, I'm here to help where I can. That's just so good. The truth of the matter is, inside the team, they know what's happening. Mark Cuban's been trying to do a palace coup for months, and a team source just said it. Mark Cuban's been walking around on air right now, a team source said, floating in his Skechers. When you read these things and you know Mark Cuban, you know the truth. You know that the only thing worse than having to sell your team is the realization that you're now irrelevant. It's what all former executives, it's what all former owners, it's what all former players, when the lights go down and you don't get everything you want, you don't have everyone around you telling you how good looking you are, how smart you are, how much they want to hang out with you, how much they want to go away with you. When that goes away, the level of loneliness is jarring. And if you're Mark Cuban and you were Mark Cuban, you want to get it back. You want full Eddie money, man. I want to go back. Is Mark Cuban back? No. Is he certainly saying he is? Of course he is. Do you know that we're only a few weeks in and the NBA season is already wild? Stars are going off, rookies are making noise, and the action doesn't stop. DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NBA, is where you can get in on all of it. Don't forget the Emirates NBA Cup is rolling along. Big moments, big matchups, and a whole lot on the line. Don't miss out. Jump in and bet on the action today. New customers bet just $5 and get $200 if your bet wins, paid in bonus bets. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app and use code Samson. That's code SAMSON. Bet $5 and get 200 bonus bets if your bet wins. In partnership with DraftKings, the crown is yours. Welcome back to Nothing Personal. It's hour 2 on Thursday, November 20th, 2025. You know what that means? It's Thursday, last show of the week. Coca gets to join us, our esteemed producer since the beginning, October of 2019. He's got comments and thoughts on everything we do, but we love him and we want to hear from him. What do you got for me today, Coca?
I saw
Hey,
Wicked for Good yesterday. I went to an advanced screening on Wednesday night and saw Wicked for Good. I'm not much of a musical person, or, I'm not really into like the dance routines that break out in the middle of movies, but I will say that I didn't like the songs. So I would recommend people seeing it, but I thought it was a great movie. I just didn't like the songs of it.
how
So
did
that
you
is
get
my
tickets to a screening? Are you
uh
famous now?
Yeah, essentially, I got it through YouTube. YouTube invited me to an advanced screening, and I went. It was good, but the
Were
songs
there
just
stars
weren't.
there?
I mean, me. Yeah, I feel like I was the biggest the biggest star there, but I enjoyed it. But the songs just weren't. I wasn't a fan of the songs.
Have you
But I
seen
don't.
the
I don't really.
play?
I don't know anything. I don't know anything about it. I should say that to people. I've never seen the play. So all
Okay.
I have is based off of the movies, which is the first movie and the second movie. I was a fan of the songs in the first movie, not a fan of the songs in the second movie. I was a fan of the second movie, not really a fan of the first movie, if that makes any sense to people out there.
Nope. Should we see it or not?
I think so. Yeah, I think it's a
Right.
good movie. I think
This
it's a
is
good
why you're
movie.
the producer and not on air. Because what have you told us? What's the action item? You say you don't like the music, but you like the movie, number two. Number one, you like the music, but you don't like the movie, number one. You haven't seen the play, and you're not telling us whether we should see the movie part two.
Well, I feel like that was a pretty good way to recommend something to somebody, right? Is to say I didn't like the music, but I liked the movie. That's I didn't say, listen, the music was terrible, the movie was terrible, don't go see that movie. I said, people should see it if they want to see it. I'm
It's a
not
fun
really
night
one.
out. How
Yeah,
long
but
was
I'm
it?
it felt like the movie lasted forever. Like I thought there were four different parts in it where the movie was just going to end, but the movie just never ended. And I was like, "Oh, I guess there's more to this story." But once again, I don't know anything about the story. Like I didn't know anything about Wicked Part 2 going into the movie. So I didn't really know what to expect. It was a lot darker than I thought it was going to be. Like there was definitely some elements of you're like, is this about to turn into a horror movie? But it never got to that point.
We are two different people in this way as well. When you get on a plane, do you ask the captain what the flight time is?
No, I can't change. If I can't change it, I don't care.
So I need to know flight time. So I find out flight time immediately upon embarking onto the plane. When I go to a movie, I ask the usher, what time does this movie get out? So I have the exact time. So I would know before sitting in to a movie like One Battle After Another or like Wicked 2. If there's a 2 hour and 40-minute movie, I want to know about it in advance.
Yeah, my thing with recommendations of movies and shows is like I'd like to know the person that I'm telling, the recommendation to. Like, what are your interests? Because I don't think that like my interests are the same as your interests. So movies that I enjoy, I wouldn't tell you to go see that movie if you didn't enjoy it. So like Weapons, like I love the movie Weapons, but I wouldn't tell you to go see Weapons because I know you're not into, scary horror stuff. But, if there are movies that I think are good enough, like The Long Walk, like I thought that was a really, really, really good movie, but there is definitely like disgusting elements to it that you might have to sacrifice those moments just to see the movie itself. So I just saw Frankenstein. I loved Frankenstein. I thought
Have we
that
reviewed that yet?
I don't know if we reviewed it. I mean I
We can
take a
check our
look.
document. I don't know. I can check. I'm actually going to check my phone because I have seen Frankenstein.
Yeah, you have
I,
not reviewed Frankenstein.
yeah, so it's on my list. Yeah, it's not starred. So it is on my list to review. I'm happy. Let's wait to talk about Frankenstein until we review it on the show, and then I do want to do a full
Oh, so I have to
conversation.
wait for you to review a movie that I bring up. Nice.
Yes,
I guess that's how it
yes,
works here.
yes.
Well, let's jump right into sports now that we've got Wicked for Good out of the way. So go see it if you want to see it. If you don't want to see it, don't see it. But the big thing in the
That's
NBA
really
right
some
the
added
big
value.
thing in the NBA right now is injuries. Is there are a lot of soft tissue injuries, and I've seen a lot of people speak on this subject. It's tough, and it's really tough. And I think it was Kornheiser or Wilbon who said it yesterday that they blamed NBA greed for the season being as long as it is, whether that's owners and players wanting more money because they are making a lot of money right now. But the injuries are getting to a point where we are in sort of like a danger zone, where there are a lot of stars that are just getting hurt. And it's the calf injuries, it's the hip injuries, it's the knee injuries, the Achilles injuries, the ankle injuries. And there's load management is one thing, and I understand the need for load management, but now we're getting into a place where awards are going to start to mean a little less when it's not really the best players going up for these awards. But it's also funny that players like Nikola Jokic, who you look at him and you look at his body, and you say this guy doesn't take care of himself in the off season. He's drinking, he's going to horse races, he's probably eating like a king, and then he comes out and he can play a full season and he can play 40 minutes a game, and he's contending for titles, he's contending for MVPs. But then there's these other guys like Victor Wembanyama who has his own workout regimen, whether it's the pregame stretching or what he's doing with the weights or what he's doing in the offseason to prepare his body, and then boom, a calf injury pops up. So where do you stand on this? Do you stand on the side of, hey, the NBA needs to shorten the season, or do you think there's just more research that needs to be done because it really is a problem that the league is seeing?
So let me start with my usual recency bias issue. I need facts. Here's
Mm.
why. Every year we talk about injuries in baseball. You know this. You and I do shows about this. Hey, this guy's getting Tommy John. This guy's getting Tommy John. This year sounds like way more people are getting Tommy Johns. Let's study why these guys are getting hurt so much. Basketball. People are not playing. Load management or soft tissue injuries. They're tearing their Achilles because there was a rash of Achilles with Tyrese and Damon Lillard. And all of a sudden, Adam Silver says, we're going to study Achilles tears. Remember he said that? To
Hmm.
see if we can figure out what's happening. All of the length of the season issues that you said are being talked about on the other network, that was all CBA related, where more off days during the course of a season made the season longer. Players didn't want to do 4 games in 5 nights. They didn't want to do the tough travel the way they used to do it. And so those were gives by the NBA, actually. And so all these injuries we're seeing. Why is Victor Wembanyama different? Because he's so good? Because we thought he was a unicorn? Could it be that we're now witnessing the greatest player who could ever play the game? He's got the height of Jabbar. He's got the ball handling skills of Magic. He has the 3-point touch of Reggie Miller. Could this be the unicorn in basketball? And the answer is probably not, because he's got to do it over a career and he's got to do it without getting hurt all the time. And what we've learned about Wembanyama is he's not going to stay healthy. And regimen or not, and I want to get to this also, teams spend our budget, and this was not a big budget with the Marlins, hundreds of thousands of dollars spent on nutritionists, spent on studying bodies and making sure that there's individual workout plans for guys. And do you know the decrease in injuries that we saw as a result of that spending? Donut. We just were doing it because every other team was doing it, and everybody had their own workout plan for the offseason, specially designed just for them. Jokic, his body is so soft.
Hmm.
He eats Twinkies. And guess what? he doesn't get hurt. Why? We don't know. There's no study done for why some fat guys can be football players. There was a anyway, we'll get to that in a minute at the NFL. So the answer is Wembanyama may be a total NBA bust. He may be Greg Oden, Coca.
I mean,
that's the truth.
None of that is the truth. Greg Oden had degenerative knees. Wembanyama doesn't have that, and you're calling him injury prone. Last year he had a blood clot. Like that's not something that's not an injury to
Yes,
get a blood.
Is.
No, it's not.
Anything that causes you not to play is
an
injury.
No, that's not an injury.
It's not Family Leave Act.
A blood clot is not an injury, and I won't give you that being an injury because it's not something he did to himself. He didn't do that to himself on the court. So that's not considered an injury.
Wait, if you get hurt off the court, that's not an injury? What's the name of the guy who had the barbecue incident yesterday?
That's an
hockey player.
That's an injury. He is doing something to injure his body. But having something physically wrong with you that you have no, like you can't call somebody with a blood clot being, that labeling him now as injury prone. But another part of this NBA discussion is we're seeing the pace of play. It's just, run and gun. There's so many possessions that are happening in games because, teams are just, launching up threes or how fast everybody is moving. And those studies have not been done, right? So it's like the game is speeding up. The athletes are getting bigger, faster, and stronger. And the level in which we're seeing this is, it's something that has changed so drastically over the course of 15 years, 20 years. We're seeing such a drastic increase in the speed and strength of these athletes. And those are the studies that need to be done. So the load management thing.
Tell me why? Because why aren't we're seeing the same thing in every sport? Don't we say
no,
about
we're not.
Football play? Well, let me tell you where we do. Field goal kickers. They're right now from 50.
It's the football. Problem. It's the football. We've already discussed this. So they're allowed to use it, but they're allowed to use a different football. Boom.
Throwing 100.
And what's happening to arms with MLB pitchers?
Oh, 100%. But they're bigger, stronger bodies. They're getting hurt.
But we're seeing
things they shouldn't do.
But we're seeing with baseball, we know what the cause of that is. Like what the cause of players pitching 100 miles an hour is because that's what they're training for. They're training to throw 100 miles an hour. That's what they're doing with their arms. But we don't know what's happening in the NBA. Are they training to go this fast? Is this fast too fast? Those are the things that we don't know. We don't know how these explosive athletes are doing that. Is it the shoes? Is it a problem with the shoes? Have the shoes changed that dramatically over the course of time where, you're seeing these deficiencies? Because this is the most athletic of the sports, right? You have to have the coordination. You have to have the speed. You have to have the power. You have to have the lift. So there are so many different parts of the human body that you have to put into being a great athlete. But we're seeing a lot of these soft tissue injuries. And I don't know if load management is going to be something, that's going to curb this, because things that are tied to playing time and things that are tied to games played, like their contracts, that's important for people to push through these things. So you can have guys who have, bad ankles or bad knees or bad calves who are feeling these pains, but they have to play because they want to get a supermax, or they want to, be all NBA, or they want to be whatever it is. So I saw, I think it's Tyler Hero. Like, it was like, if Tyler Hero isn't back by next Monday, he's already eliminated from any contention of getting a supermax contract. So there are all these things that are tied to, making athletes perform, but we just don't know if they can perform at the level in which they are performing now.
I've had this argument with people because I used to think it was the NBA players who were the greatest athletes, because I just loved the NBA growing up. And then I started watching more hockey. I heard the argument that hockey players on skates, it's the same as us walking, because they've just been on skates so much. But it doesn't matter to me. I think hockey players and soccer players are really good athletes. Now, it's true, soccer players get to walk a little bit during the course of the game, but still, the bursts of energy and the amount of time they play without timeouts, I think that I've always thought, if you had to rank them, basketball, hockey, soccer, in terms of athletes, who's your number one out of those three?
Basketball.
2?
I don't honestly. I don't know enough about hockey and hockey athletes, and how they train and how they prepare to accurately say how great of athletes they are. So because of that, I would label them 3 and soccer 2. But people could tell me I'm wrong. I don't know.
Okay, we'll keep going. I would go. I'm going to go hockey, soccer, basketball. No, I love watching basketball players. That is for sure. But I have something else on the injuries here because, and the supermax and the money, that was all collectively bargained. So the players allowed for this sort of super max concept and for the number to be based on games played, the votes to be based on games played. It's not something that the NBA unilaterally imposed on the players. The players were well aware of it, and it can incentivize players to play through injuries, which is something we talk about in baseball. Like, we want to make sure that players are pitching with discomfort and playing with discomfort because there's always discomfort. There's always something hurting in a baseball player because you're playing so many games in a row, so many games over the course of a season, that we want to motivate guys to perform instead of saying, oh, the sphincter hurts, I'm not going to play today. In basketball, Hero's a great example. The Supermax may be off the table, but what's on the table is an amount of money that, to a player like Tyler Hero and to 99% of the players out there, they're good with. And so what I'm looking for in the next CBA, even with all this media money, there's going to be an adjustment in the negotiation of what it is that players are eligible to receive at certain points of their career. And side note, Coca, that's what I think MLB should lean toward. They're not going to get a salary cap. They're not going to get a salary floor, but some sort of contract limit to avoid paying players not to play or to be ineffective because of age. That is something that MLB should go for.
Who do you think was the last polarizing player in the NFL like we're seeing with Shedeur Sanders? Because Shedeur is about to get his first start for the Cleveland Browns. They're playing against the Raiders, and everything with Shedeur feels like it's something that we've never seen before. Where people there are so many people who are coming to his defense about what the Browns are doing and the treatment of Shedeur Sanders, and they're not letting him get first team reps, and they're throwing him into a game against the Ravens as his first NFL action. And then you have all these backup quarterbacks who were in the NFL who have come out and said, hey, listen, I was a career backup. I never got first team reps in practice. The starting quarterback wants the first team reps. And then you still have people saying, no, you're wrong. And now Stefanski, after, Shedeur has been named the starter, says, listen, I've been watching film with Shedeur the entire season. We've been watching practice film together. So I don't know if that's Stefanski trying to give us the good PR here or if that's something that's really happened. But this is a great spot for Shedeur to come in and play. Going up against a Raiders team who just looks awful. The team looks awful. So this to me is this is a spot where I can see Shedeur coming in and seeing a little bit of success. And I don't know what's going on behind closed doors with the Browns, but if you've watched Dillon Gabriel play this year, he's looked terrible. So I don't know if Shedeur could look worse than what the Browns have gotten out of Dillon Gabriel. But it is crazy to me that this team has not been able to find a starting quarterback for the past 26 years. I don't know.
Wait, have the Dolphins, haven't they had only Tannehill and Tua for the past 20 years? But anyway, so you started with the first question that I was thinking about. Who's been a player that has more sort of noise surrounding him?
Yeah.
I mean, Deshaun Watson, same team, a lot of noise, but it was brought on by himself.
Yeah, but polarizing for me means there's defenders and there are, sort of haters.
Detractors?
Yeah, I don't think
Is Travis Kelce polarizing?
Not to me.
Or everyone loves him?
Not in the sense that like Travis Kelce doesn't need people to defend him. He's not doing anything that needs that sort of defense.
How about Tyreek Hill?
No, I don't think we're on the same page when it comes to this. Colin Kaepernick. Colin Kaepernick would be on that sort of same tier of people who were on one side or on the other side, and there was no meeting in the middle at all. So I think that's what we're sort of seeing with Shedeur is like you're either for Shedeur or you're against Shedeur. There's no meeting in the middle and just saying, hey, let's see how this plays out.
I've got a meeting in the middle. I just think he stinks. So it's not I'm not for him or against him. I'm happy he's getting the start. They have no one else. It's the equivalent. I'm looking at Shedeur Sanders the way I looked at Tommy DeVito. Like a lot of stuff had to go wrong for him to start a game for the Giants. Now he had a personality, he had an exciting agent, and all of a sudden there's a story, and then it fizzles because eventually you have to play. No one thought that Brock Purdy was sexy until he won. Everyone now looks at a quarterback like Bo Nix and says, oh, I don't think he's that good, but wait a minute, they're winning. If Shedeur Sanders can, his rating against the Ravens was 13 and change.
Yeah, I watched the game. It was not as bad as those stats say it was. The team there were a lot of drops by the Browns. He still had a chance to tie the game. He still had a chance to tie the game in the fourth quarter on that final drive. It was just a great defensive play that broke up the pass. It was his first action, and he's going up against a Ravens team with Roquan Smith, with Kyle Hamilton. They weren't going to make his life easy at all. But there is no team that is going to make his life easy in the NFL.
I'm going to give you some work to do right now. Can you multitask, please? Go to our partner, our friends at DraftKings. What is a couple of props around Shedeur Sanders? Do these exist, actually, Coca? Can you bet on the number of times that Shedeur Sanders will be sacked by the Las Vegas Raiders? Does that exist? We're going to check. And while you're checking, is there an over-under for yards passing for a quarterback?
Yeah, I don't know about sacks, and I'm not really going to try too hard to look into, if there's like a sack total. But his passing yards in the game, they have at 160.
So are they juicing which side, the over or the under?
Well, this is just plus one. Just for 160 or more yards is minus 150.
It's talking to the microphone. I lost you.
It's 160. Over under is 160 and a half. So it's minus 112. Minus 112.
Okay. So which side against the Raiders? We just watched the Raiders play Dallas just a couple nights ago.
Mm-hmm.
And we watched Dallas run roughshod over that Raiders defense, just crush them. We do know they've got a great player, Max Crosby, we'd all love to have on our team. And the reason I was asking about sacks is I was wondering how many Max Crosby sacks will happen. But where are you on that Browns game? Where are you on Shedeur Sanders as someone who can actually be a starting quarterback?
Yeah, I would take his over because I think this is going to be one of those games where Stefanski has heard it all, right? He's heard a lot of the pressure. He's heard a lot of the comments, and he's going to go out there and he's going to let him throw. You really have nothing to lose by allowing Shedeur to just get out there and throw the ball. And this is a team that can run the football with Judkins, as their back, and you're going up against the Raiders, who have just been dreadful, offensively and defensively the entire season. So I'd probably take the over because that's what I would like to see from this is just let him go out there and just let him throw. Let him get the ball downfield. Let him try and create. Let him do these things to just see if you have something. You have something because, like I said, you're not getting anything out of Dylan Gabriel. You're probably not going to have Deshaun Watson be your quarterback ever again. So you're going to have to try and find something. Why not just give him a chance and see what you have. But it's going to be a great game to watch because you have Max Crosby and you have Myles Garrett, who are like two of the premier defensive edge rushers in the NFL, and they both want to prove a point, right? Last week, I think it was Myles Garrett had 4 sacks, in the game against the Ravens. He's trying to break Michael Strahan's record of 22 and a half sacks in a season, and he's on pace to do it. This is going to be one of those games where he's going to try it because the Raiders' offensive line is dreadful. And then you have Max Crosby on the other side, who doesn't want a rookie to come into the game, and make a joke of what the Raiders have been doing. So he's going to try and get his stats up. So I think it's going to be a bad, good football game.
I have it marked down as a wait to see for you.
Over 160 yards?
For sure.
Well, I mean, I'll just bet it. Like, I'll just take it. I'll just bet the over.
So you want it as a pick of the day.
Yeah, that'll be my pick. My pick will be, Shedeur Sanders over 160 and a half yards passing.
I like the bad, good games. What else is on your mind today, Coca? Talk to me.
Well, we had when you and I speak, I always tell you about salt, right? Like if something is too salty, not enough salt, and what that means is when you're talking and you're telling stories, sometimes people put too much information, too much personal information, too much information that other people don't need to hear into their stories. Well, that's what we're seeing out of the Giants right now, and it drives me crazy when players do this because we want players to be honest. We don't want the generic quotes, but sometimes you need to know that you shouldn't be giving too much. And that's what we saw from Andrew Thomas, who's the starting left tackle for the Giants, is he was talking about the silent count and the need for the Giants to do the silent, to play with a silent snap count when they're playing at home because the stadium is just full of so many traveling fans. And I there's no need, like that information, we don't need that as fans. We don't need to hear that because it just sounds, so ridiculous. You're calling out your fan base when you're doing something like that. And this is a fan base with the Giants who have been there, right? They've struggled through so many terrible years. So, there was no need for Andrew Thomas to come out here and say, yeah, when we're playing at home, we have to go to a silent snap count because the crowd is, full of Packers fans and the Packers fans are outnumbering the Giants fans and they're louder. It's like, yeah, you're a bad team. You're a bad foot. You want you want your team to show up to the stadium, win some games because it's something that they haven't done in years now.
I was there, Coca.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you a story about being at the Meadowlands for the Packers and Giants last week. I was on the Packers side of the field. A lot of Packers fans behind the Packers bench. A lot of Packers fans. The other side of the field, a lot of people in blue. When you walk the concourses, I would say 70-30 blue is what percentage I came up with. 70% Giants, 30% Packers. What I think Andrew Thomas is referring to is that Packer fans have this "Go Pack, Go" chant. And the Giants fans were much more sullen because their season has been stinky. But on the other hand, we took note as to how loud that game was for Giants fans because the Giants were in command of the game. It was a back and forth game, lead changes, exciting game, Giants fans cheering, Packers fans cheering. There was just noise all the time. I feel zero for a home team that has to do a silent count because I'm from Florida. You want to go to a Dolphin game? People talk about the Dolphins. Do you know how many Jets fans and Patriots fans go to Dolphins games? And you know this because you were in Florida too. It's so loud for the opposing team. You go to Marlins games against the Yankees, against the Red Sox. I don't care how good the Marlins are, winning the World Series. It's so loud on behalf of the other team until your team does something. So the joke of this silent count issue is that every person wearing Packer stuff, when the Giants would do something good, 80%, and I was taking note because what else am I going to do? About 80% of the people wearing Packer stuff would also cheer for Giants things because at the end of the day, people like to be happy. They like to cheer no matter what's going on. If you're a Packer fan living in New York, you get to be happy no matter what happens. And that would be the case with Marlins games. We would hear, because I would talk to my baseball people, when the Marlins would hit a home run against the Yankees, it would be so loud in favor of the Marlins that it made me feel like we're all the Yankee fans. When the Yankees would hit a home run against the Marlins, it would be so loud that I'd be furious that there were no Marlins fans. And that's when we came to the conclusion people are just cheering. Silent count, everyone does it. There's no excuse for it, and it's not just a Giants thing.
Wait, so you're trying to say right now that 80% of Packers fans were cheering for the Giants to do good against the Packers?
Big difference. When?
What does that even mean? What does that even mean?
When the Giants scored a touchdown, they would cheer. They wouldn't boo. They want the Packers to win if they're wearing Packers garb, but they're at a game and enjoying the game, and they just want to see something happen.
I'd say maybe
8 out of 10.
I'd say 8. Yeah, maybe 8 of the 10 people that you were with were cheering.
No, I was not with that many, but that's funny.
Because there's just no way that I will allow that to be something, and I hope people respond to us, write in comments. I want all of this. Email us if you are at a game on the road, an opposing game. Are you cheering for the home team when you're there as part of the away team? I would just love to hear.
I didn't say people from Green Bay. You're misunderstanding.
Dude, if you are in Green Bay attire, you are not cheering for the Giants.
It doesn't mean you're from Green Bay.
I don't care if you're from Green Bay. I'm saying
in New York,
if you are wearing Green Bay Packers gear at a Giants game, you are not cheering for the Giants when they do good. And
listen, I'm not going to die on this hill, but the number of people in Yankee jerseys who cheer for a Giancarlo Stanton home run with their kid is 8 out of 10. I'm just telling you. So I hear you.
Yeah, listen, we're getting immediate feedback here. Hell no, absolutely not. What are you doing, Samson?
I'm no longer going to die in the hill.
Yeah,
Thanks for the input, folks.
This is a little more scientific than your notepad, I would imagine.
This is about as scientific as a journalist class in Iowa.
Yeah, I'm so confused by this conversation. Me too. I am very confused by this conversation as well.
Hold on, I'm giving a silent count right now.
Oh, not a chance. I mean, listen, this is just
read comments. That's
ludicrous.
Fine.
Yeah, I mean, this is good.
Spend the next 17 minutes. Just do that. Can I go?
Ludicrous, David.
Can I go to the restroom?
Yeah, I mean, you could try, but it's just the comments they're just flooding the system right now.
I'm not going to allow a Giants player to complain about a snap counter for you to be sad that there's a snap count at a stadium. Home guys do silent snap counts all the time. It's not just the Giants. There are people cheering for road teams all over leagues. Football, basketball, baseball. I'm just not going to go to a Heat game against the Knicks. You need a silent count. You can't hear Spoelstra.
I mean, you lost the argument.
Okay.
So the college football playoff. Listen, you want to talk more Miami, and we will. So it's the college football playoff. And the college football playoff, everybody's brains are exploding just because of how ridiculous the arguments are coming from the college football playoff committee when it comes to Miami. And Miami right now has the same record as Notre Dame. They're behind Notre Dame in the rankings. But Miami beat Notre Dame when the two teams played. So I really don't understand what the committee is trying to say.
I think they talked. Coca, they answered.
Yeah, no, that's what I'm saying. It's like I don't understand what the committee is trying to say because they continue to talk.
Notre Dame lost twice to CFP ranked opponents, and Miami lost twice to unranked opponents.
But they played each other.
Yes, that's true.
So it's just tough for me
to
believe.
Telling you what they said.
But it's tough to believe that this would be a thing still when it's like they played the game on the field. So I think regardless of what other criteria you want when you are ranking teams, them playing against each other should hold the most weight.
So this is a good take. Are you saying that head-to-head trumps everything? In CFP rankings,
when the teams have the same record, when they are compared to each other and they're right next to each other in the rankings, head-to-head should matter the most because the teams have played. So that's the easiest thing ever. You can just look at the teams and just say, did Miami play Notre Dame? Oh, they did play each other. Okay, who won the game? Miami won the game. We'll rank Miami above Notre Dame, and we'll
Aren't the
move forward.
rankings based on a full body of work over the course of a season, or are they just based on head to head? I would assume the former, which is why the rankings are the way the rankings.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. But they're neck and neck in the rankings. So that's the thing that confuses me. So it's like, have them be 5 places apart if you're going to say, hey, the losses matter more, because that's what you're trying to say in this case is that who you lose to is more important than who you beat, and that shouldn't be the
background.
case.
Is Mike Ryan Ruiz? Is he furious right now? Like, is he all over the internet losing his mind?
He's been going off, but rightfully so. Rightfully
is he sullying the selection process? Is that everyone's view? Like, oh, the rules are bad, that we've got a bunch of men in a room throwing darts at a wall. We need to do it computer, or we need to have different men in the room.
Well,
I
think it's just
argument for people who are on the outside.
They just talk themselves into a circle. Is what it is. It's because the things that they're saying for one team aren't the same for another team. Where they're saying, hey, Oregon is ranked where it is because they beat Penn State, and Penn State, we're looking at that game as when Penn State was good. But then they're looking at other teams, and they're looking at, I believe it's like Virginia, and they're saying, oh, Virginia beat a team, but when Virginia beat that team, they weren't as, they were good then, but they're not good now. So it's like they're going team by team, and they're making different rules and saying different things for each team that exists. And
so what are your rankings? Instead of so stand behind something. What do you got?
Well, I just did. I just said that Miami should be ahead of Notre Dame because they played on the field. It happened.
Okay.
It happened on the field. But another part of this discussion is what happens with the group of 5 schools. Is because right now with the 12-team playoff, one of the seeds automatically goes to the group of 5. And the biggest conversation right now is about expanding the college football playoff because there's only 12 spots for 136 schools. And, I did the research yesterday. There are 68 Power 4 schools if you include Notre Dame into that conversation. So you have 68 schools going for 11 spots, and then the rest of the schools going for 1 spot. I'm trying to understand why, if you were a group of 5 president, why you wouldn't be pushing for either an expansion to 24 teams so that you can get more group of 5 schools in, or just having your own playoff. Because I don't see...
Like the NIT in men's basketball?
Exactly. Because I don't see, what is that devaluing? You're giving your season more meaning. Because bowl games are whatever, right? People look at bowl games as they're just like these, these jokes. That you can play in. It's not that serious anymore to play in one of these New Year's 6 games if it's not going to be the college football playoff games. So if you're the group of 5, I would be pushing for our own individual, our own college football playoff, because the revenue that would bring in from, an expanded TV deal and your season would matter. Because right now they're sort of they're like the sacrificial lambs for these, Power 4 schools, where they're just going out there, they get blown out. Sometimes you get an upset win, or otherwise you play your full season and it's just one school out of all the schools who are in the group of 5 who are making it into we'll call it like the March Madness tournament, and that's it. So I think they should just have their own playoff. And if there is, maybe you have the one school who rules them all, who gets into the big boy tournament, and you have it that way, and the rest of the schools play in the group of 5 tournament. That's just, my
so
take
the
on it.
Pop-Tart Bowl, you're saying people aren't excited to play in that because it doesn't mean anything. What it does, they get paid for it, so it's something. But make the Pop-Tart Bowl part of a set of bowls that can lead to a champion. It's like a second-tier champion. So literally like the NIT. And the NIT's been having trouble staying alive recently because bubble teams for the NCAA are so angry at the NCAA men's basketball tournament, where they're pondering expansion too, that they don't even want to play in the NIT because they think it's an insult. And
Yeah.
so the best of the worst of the best are supposed to go play in that second tier tournament, and the worst of the best aren't. So you're left with the best of the worst. And so in college football, they're deciding shortly about expanding, and
Yeah.
whether there's a lot of proposals about going to 16, go to 24. You've got the Big Ten fighting right now, and SEC as they're trying to guarantee spots. Why? Because spots in the CFP equals money to your program. The same fights that Michigan and USC are having over the Big Ten private equity. It's about the allocation, how much money comes into your program. So the only way that it works, what you're saying, is if the money that a team gets for being in one of these bowls that you say don't matter, like the Pop-Tart Bowl is the one I keep thinking of, but there's 100 bowl games now.
Yeah.
The money would have to be greater because it's already being televised. It's already being sponsored. So incrementally, if it were a tournament, would there be incremental increase, like in a final game of this?
Yeah, but
lower
you're
tier?
not getting rid of bowl games, because there are still teams who are not making it into the, we'll call it like the 1A and the 1B college football playoff. So if you have it's sort of would be the same thing. So it's like the teams who are not in the 1A or the 1B are still there to play in these other bowl games. So they can go play in the Pop-Tart Bowl, and the Pop-Tart Bowl would be able to take another team who didn't make it into, one of these two tournaments and have them that way. So you're just
How many
making
teams? How many teams would be in the big tournament in your mind? 24? 24 in the main CFP?
Well, no, we can have 12 and 12. You
You
can
want to
have
do
it
12 and
split.
12. So
Yeah,
any
we can have
team in
12
the
and
top
12.
24 is going to be the first 12 are in the big boy tournament, as you called it. The second 12 are in the secondary tournament,
No,
which
but no. Group of 5. It would only be group of 5 schools in that other secondary tournament. It is not It's not another place for Power 5 or Power 4 teams to go and play. So it wouldn't be like the NIT where you're having, the
Mhm.
fifth place team in the Big Ten going
Right.
down and playing in the NIT. This would just be, the Conference USA's, the American Conference, the Sun Belt, having those schools give meaning to their seasons. Because
So
right
if you
now,
created a super league,
there already is a Super League. We're seeing it. That's what I'm saying, is that there are 11 spots that go to Power 4 programs and only one spot that goes to the group of 5. And right now you have 60, I think it's 68 and 68. So you have 68 schools who are vying for one spot. Why not just have them have their own separate tournaments? So you have those 68 schools, going for their own 12 spots. That's what I'm trying to get at, because right now the way it looks is like the group of 5 seasons are really meaningless if you're just playing for one thing. And if these smaller schools still need more money, having another tournament that, you can go out and sell the media rights to those tournaments, because there are definitely networks out there who want more of this sports programming, because we see how meaningful college football is. And then you add college football with stakes, like a single elimination tournament, you're going to get more people watching those games. You're going to get more interest in those games. You're going to get more gamblers interested in those games, more fans interested in those games. So the money will come, and these smaller schools in these smaller conferences are going to get that, much needed revenue that they can put into whatever their NIL, funds. They can put it into their stadium upgrades. They can give it to their coaching staffs, their players, whatever they need to, because these schools are like we talk about, is as the Power 4 grows bigger and the gap grows bigger, these smaller schools are going to have to start getting rid of their programs. And this is one way that you can try and put a Band-Aid, on those programs disappearing.
Coke, I have an idea for you.
Yes, sir.
If we were if we were journalists,
Mm-hmm.
so back at CBS, if there'd be an idea like this, they'd encourage us, hey, write it down, make an article of it. Well, guess what? We're with Pablo and Dan. We're part of Metalark. Your camera just went totally fuzzy, by the way. Did you do something weird?
It's the focus. So when I went to go get a drink, but keep going. You're a
Okay.
professional. Okay.
Why can't, no, I'm just, but I had my eyes dilated yesterday and I felt like I was moving backwards. There you go. You're back. Why don't you put in writing? Because we can get this in front of Tony Petiti. We can get this in front of presidents of, I bet you between the two of us, we know 15 to 20 presidents who we could get this in front of immediately. We can get it in front of Skipper. What would you pay for this sort of tournament? The reason I'm asking is there are people sitting in rooms right now, literally now, because it's that time of day, discussing what to do with CFP, fighting amongst themselves. And it sounds like your answer. I like it. So it sounds like it adds value everywhere, but there must be something we're missing. So take the time, write down like bullet points. You don't have to write complete sentences. It doesn't have to be PowerPoint, but just the bullet points, and let's run it by some of the people who are in charge, because what you're saying makes sense, but it's not being done. And my business experience tells me when something that good is not being done, it means that we're missing something.
So Friday night, I've got a boys' dinner. The boys are getting together. We're going out for steaks, sushi.
Wow.
I think more people need to do these things. Need to find time.
At all.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm saying is people need to find that time to get with their friends, their best friends, and just go out. When, we're all getting older. Everybody has more responsibilities, whether it's your family, whether it's work. But we still need to find that time to give ourselves, something. And
are you going to the rebranded Sizzler?
The rebranded Sizzler? Yeah.
You know what that is? Do you know what Sizzler is?
Yeah. There was a Sizzler in the town next to mine when we were growing up, and we used to go there all the time.
They just announced yesterday a full rebrand. They're back,
I
baby.
didn't know that. I did not know that, but I am excited to try it out when it opens up. But back to my point is
where are you going tomorrow night?
Well, Friday night we're going to this place called Blue. It's just great. Like, just getting together with your friends and just finding that time. And, we try to do it once every couple of months. There's going to be 10 of us. There's going to be 10 of us. Just one check,
and then you Venmo each other.
Yeah. And everybody, somebody throws down the card usually for the points, It used to be, before we were adults, is that like nobody wanted to throw down their card because you were like I can't have this hit. And now everybody throws down the card, wants to be first because you get the credit card points. And because you get the credit card points, everybody is quick to throw down their card.
We play credit card roulette when we go to dinners that big. Have you ever played that, where you put all credit cards in a bag and you ask the waiter to just pull out 9 cards if you're 10 of you, and those 9 people are free and the 10th one pays for the whole meal? And then the next time you go out, that person doesn't have to put his credit card in at all. So everyone ends up paying one dinner out of 10 for the same group of 10 that go out, but it adds to a whole lot of excitement.
Yeah, but it'd be more of like a wild ride if there was no like taking away of the card. So like if somebody got hit like 4 times in a row, just boom, 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 boom.
Right, but that
was
becomes
just always
very
there.
Costly.
It was just always their card. But, I just wanted to end this week with some sort of positive message to people. And that positive message this week is to just get together with your friends. Give yourself that time to just, have some laughs, have some jokes. Catch up on things that you might have missed because, as and as every listener knows and everybody knows, is we're all going through something, and friendship is important. So when you can create that time and you can make that time, make that time.
I love you, and I love that advice. I've not been following that advice. I've become a hermit. I am in a dark, dark room more hours than I'm not. But Coca, thank you. That is very good advice that I hope people follow. Thank you all for the week and for sticking with me. Monday, Wednesdays, and Thursdays, we've been doing shows. Hard to know what the schedule is going forward, but next week we're going to do Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday of Thanksgiving week. Thank you again. It's just business. Even when you're going out to dinner, this is nothing personal.